We don't do OnlyFans. Well, maybe, but I won't. But I don't know. I can't speak for them. We don't do Only Toes. Well, you might do Only Toes. You do Only Toes. You got one that's a little on the. Maybe it's like that now.
One.
I don't know.
Toefetish.com.
Oh my God. Everybody, welcome back to another podcast with Southern Tulane. This is Randy B. and
DJ Seeley,
Chris,
DJ Seeley, and
Buck
Chris
Owens.
Bucko.
I don't know why every time you say that, I feel the need to. I need to program in Streets of Bakersville.
Yeah, or Tiger by the Tail. That's another good one. That was his biggest one.
Tiger by the tail, can't you see?
It's plain to see.
That too.
Yeah.
Can it go with that tune there?
Yeah. We could probably put the lyrics to that.
I'm sure we could.
Yes.
All right, it's time to kick it off. I think, what have you been doing? I mean, we just got out of the holidays not too long ago, right?
Yeah. Long break over the holidays and just got back into the grind.
Back to
last
work.
week. Yeah, back to work, back in the gym.
Now, did you take a break from the gym? Like, was that something like? Was there a solid week you didn't go? Probably not. Yeah, really.
Yeah, Christmas week. I broke my toe. Week before. Love it. We have hot buttons.
Yes, we do.
So broke my toe. Doctor said I need to take it easy.
Did you break your toe doing something cool like kicking a ninja or trying to like bust a block brick?
I just felt wrong.
At the gym?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Getting the beer out of the
I
refrigerator.
went into the explanation a couple podcasts ago, but
so when you get injured and it's something as small and fragile as a toe, you get injured at the gym. How do you react in that moment?
You don't.
Yeah, you just suck it up, and pretend like nothing happened.
No, that's nothing happened. We'll address this. I mean, let's face it. I'm like training to be a samurai warrior.
Yeah.
So,
or a sumo warrior,
what kind
which is
of a samurai warrior
samurai, not a sumo,
is gonna move to the sidelines of the battlefield.
Yeah. Excuse me while I address my toe issue.
Right. Honestly, it just kind of popped on the mat, and I didn't give it another thought until
I broke a toe.
Turned blue a couple days later.
I broke a toe wakeboarding once. My foot came out and slipped right out of the boot. Slammed up against the board.
Yeah.
If you would have thought about it, we could have had the camera there. We need to milk this, all right? So you could have fell down, started crying and screaming and then pointing fingers. He hurt me. I need safe space and all that kind of. We could have
done like one of those old wrestling things where they pull out the razor blade and cut themselves and bleed.
It is kind of funny at the gym sometimes. You kind of take an assessment of everything that's going on the mats, and we guys over here and guys over there and guys over there, and they're all doing their own thing, and then have a training partner who go, hey, let's cause a scene. You know, and we'll go in for a big takedown or something, man. You know,
Grunt and
Everybody's
scream.
like,
they
what
break
are they
ball
doing?
hard. Everybody turns around. It's like, ooh.
So if you've seen the movie with Adam Sandler and Kevin James and all of them grown-ups,
Yeah.
when they're doing the basketball game, you know, Kevin James and the other big guy that's on the other team, they're huffing and puffing, and they're like, you want to fake an injury? Yeah, let's fake an injury.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, they started, you know.
So my question is, when you like, what are you working toward? Like, elite warrior status? Will you have to register
Ultimate
your
warrior.
body as a lethal
That's
weapon?
nice. No, I mean it's just I would much rather be in the gym doing some variation of a martial art than pedaling a bicycle in a fixed location in another gym.
Couldn't
somewhere
agree
else.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's just a fitness thing.
I guess I won't go
I-
back to the gym and pedal my bicycle.
And I got to tell you, I'm proud of you for it. I love that. I when I was a kid, I did karate, tang sudo, subakdo, murukwan. And it's, you know, a lot of flares, kicking, the discipline of it all, the control, the balance. I commend you for it, because to try to pull something like this off, as old as you are. Sorry, I was trying to be serious about it all, but no, for real though.
He said all that just to get to the point where he could say, as old as you are.
Yeah, all of that was
I was like, that's
a
a-
build up to.
Hey,
you're an old fart.
I'm a master at the setup. But no, seriously, I am proud of you. I think it's cool, and the time you invest in it, yeah, it's commendable.
I mean,
for
it's
sure.
a lot. And you
Yeah.
know, something else kind of dawned on me this week that I think is pretty cool about it is it's a hobby that's indoors,
Oh,
climate controlled.
Yeah, you don't.
So I can go hang out with my gym buddies and we can, you know, roll around on the floor and choke one another and you know, break each other's arms and kill people and all that kind of stuff. Rain, shine, sleet, snow. You know,
You just went from rolling around on the floor with your sweaty buddies to killing people. I don't know where to.
well, I mean, it's kind of.
and there is an element of extreme danger. I mean, you hurt your toe.
I did break a toe. I did break a toe.
You know what was more dramatic and catastrophic about that wasn't. I mean, it was the fact that you know, can't shift up.
Got to invest in that
Yeah.
hill shifter now.
He's
I
got
did.
one already.
I did ride the BMW a couple weeks ago with a broke toe. I just put on some steel-toed boots,
There you go.
Okay.
so they, you know, wouldn't press on that toe, and I could still shift. But
Creative problem solving.
yeah, so but no, it's just a fitness thing.
No, I like it, dude.
It's fun. I enjoy it.
If I had a dojo near my house, I'd probably sign up.
I mean, there's Gracie Baja there in Colton.
Yeah. I just said that for the sake of saying it.
Oh, okay. You really didn't
I
want
really,
me to
I really would.
to
No,
let
I
you
mean,
know that there was indeed.
I'm
a
so
gym close to you.
look. I'm so out of shape right now.
He
If
just
I-
wanted. He just wanted to say the
You're gonna be
term.
one of those guys.
and
I got to get in shape before I can get in
and-
shape.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm so inflexible right now. If I tried a roundhouse kick, I'd pull 70 muscles.
That's why I don't do that.
Yeah. Well, you're not gonna get any more flexible not doing anything.
But yeah, it's true. But I mean, there is some appeal in rolling around on the floor with sweaty men, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of stuck in my head there.
I mean, you got to get past that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. This was my what was it? I don't know, 7-8 months ago that I started jujitsu, and you know, I'd been karateing and you know, years back, and done a keto for a little while, a judo for a little bit, and jiu-jitsu, it's up close and personal.
Look, close quarters, right?
Yeah, you just
So then I have to ask the
gotta get
question.
past that.
You know,
Take a tube of Mando with you.
do you have you been teabagged?
Unintentionally, right?
Well, I mean, of course.
Yeah.
Well, as far
Yeah.
as he may know,
You're
I mean,
right.
the other guy we don't know.
Right.
I mean, no. I mean, trust me, your focus is not there, and that's the least of your worries. Your arm doesn't get broken from that.
Truth. Or your big toe.
Yeah, or your toe. So no, that's not.
It is and I took some classes many years ago, just enough to know that to appreciate the sheer value of what that brought. Could bring. I should not. But could bring to one's life, especially if they adhered to the beliefs and the policies that those martial arts, are designed for. They're just similar to the military. It's designed for discipline. It's designed for life. But then, should you ever need to act upon something, military, martial arts, whatever, you have the ability to do so. But there's so many other things it brings. One of the generals, and I don't follow him anymore, but I used to for years. He's not on social media much anymore. He's getting older. But one of the things he used to say was, people, kind of like I do, and you and I've talked about this in our businesses, how when we go into a job, we try to teach our guys to not see the job as a whole, but let's take a section here and a section here. Just don't see it big. Don't let it overwhelm us. And he was like, we get up and sometimes, especially kids, they let life overwhelm them. It's just so much. He said, when you get out of bed, make your bed. Mm-hmm. There's a period there. Mm-hmm. Don't think that I've got to go shower and brush my teeth and eat breakfast and get ready for school and all that stuff. That's overwhelming. Roll out of bed and make your bed, period. And then you move to the next step, whatever that is. And I used to tell the boys that I would say, just start right here. It's a start and a form of discipline that can go a long way in your life. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I will say that's probably the biggest struggle. And look, I wanted to do what I'm doing now, whether it's getting into the gym to do lifting, or one of the martial arts or whatever. It's something that's been on my mind for a while. It wasn't just a happenstance. Hey, I think I'm gonna stop by here and throw a gi on today. And I was riding down the road with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about he went to the gym all the time, and he was like, the hardest part is pulling in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And there's that kind of hit home with me. I was like, that's that's it. The actual doing of the work, the sweat, the rolls, the lifts, all that's easy once you get in there and you're amongst, friends, and, you're all participating, but the hard part's pulling in the parking lot.
I would concur with that. I would say that applies to many aspects of life.
Yeah.
I love to fish, but getting everything ready, especially on cold days, getting everything ready, loading it up, making sure I've got all the cold gear, making sure that's the hard part. Getting there and fishing is not the hard part. Mm-hmm. Or riding a motorcycle, or doing what you're doing, or whatever may, say. It's same thing with a job, getting a job started. I tell the guys, to get a job started is an act of Congress. Mm-hmm. Once we get it started and get things rolling, it's easy peasy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that.
There's one of the gyms I work out at. There's three or four guys that all work at the same company, and one of the guys is higher up in the company. And once I picked up on that they all work together, I asked one of them, I was like, so is that just like a rite of passage? Like you work out here, you go to work here? And he was like, no, but I found that if somebody will show up here, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever it is, and put in the time to get to these ranks and go through this testing process and, put their body through this, that it says a lot about their work ethic, which will carry into their careers.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I found it was a great place to recruit. And I was like, yeah, makes good sense, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we talked on the last episode, we were expecting Snowmageddon, and it is still cold in Birmingham, Alabama. It's been about 3 weeks.
Yeah. So we did a lot of talking about me. Let's talk about you.
I don't have much.
Fish much?
Yeah. I like
Too
to
cold.
fish. No, it's not too cold to fish.
Not too cold.
So I remember early in my life when I was fishing like really regular, and that's really all I had going. I hunted and I fished, and I got to where I fished so much that I quit hunting, sold all my gear, and fished. Not full time because I didn't make any major money out of it, but you'd have thought I was full time.
For those of you that don't know Randy, here's a little insight into Randy Bourne. He is all the way in, or he is all the hell the way out.
Cha-ching.
So when he says, I quit hunting and I picked up fishing and I sold all my stuff, like when he decides I'm out,
I'm out.
there's a fire sale.
Yeah,
He doesn't want to look at it anymore. He doesn't want anything that resembles that. It shall be banished from his life forever.
Well, I mean, that's one of those things that I learned years ago as well. You know, either do it and do it right, or don't do it at all.
Yeah. Whereas I might decide tomorrow that I'm not riding motorcycles anymore, but I'm fine with them just sitting there in the basement. Like the day Randy decides he's done riding, they're gone.
Tail sounds going up in the yard. I mean, but the thing about it is, it's something will replace it, right? If you know what replaced hunting, that part of my life was fishing. You know, so I would buy more fishing gear if I went back.
Sure.
Anyway, but I remember keeping a sledgehammer in the back of the truck in the wintertime because we would get to the launch and it would be the launch would be frozen, so we would have to take it and bust the water so we could back down. Now, obviously, the water out in there didn't freeze, but around the edges it would freeze.
Sure.
And we would have to fish with our rod tips in the water to keep the eyelets from freezing over. And then we would have to dip the rods in the water, the reels, because ice would build up on the. That's some extreme situations, but man, I've caught some of my best fish in my life fishing at 30-degree weather.
Stripe.
Getting hot over there?
Getting a little warm.
Here, let me see if I can find some tunes to go with that.
Ooh, that's like an Old Spice commercial.
But you know, it's fishing, golfing, riding motorcycles.
A little high karate.
Oh, that is right. That all went with
Remember that song years ago? What song was that? Oh, God, I looked it up just the other day. This came up. Slaps on his high karate aftershave.
Oh yeah, that was
Puts on his custom boots. Something.
What is it? High karate aftershave. I'll think of it before we get there.
Yeah.
We'll come back. It'll be one of those squirrel.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, one of the things that I wanted to mention while we're thinking about high karate aftershave is, and when we decided to go this route, we knew there would be moments like this.
Squirrel moments?
Moments where we would talk about something that just wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea.
Oh.
It's Barney Jekyll and a Bubba Hyde.
Diamond Rio. Diamond Rio was the group. There we go. And by the way, they were phenomenal.
Yeah, they were.
They were phenomenal.
Man, great harmonies.
Let's talk about what's coming up 11 days from today.
11 days. All right.
So
let's talk about it.
Back on the second Tuesday in November, set the precedent for what's coming up.
Okay.
Don't want to spend a lot of time. We're not going to throw out a bunch of opinions or a lot of, whatever. I guess we're just talking about what's facts, and facts is that Trump won the election by quite a bit.
Some refer to it as a landslide.
Landslide. Well, see, if you've been around as long as I have, you remember Ronald Reagan and Walter Mondale. That was a landslide.
Yeah.
This was a landslide, what modern generation knows is one, but when you only win your home state, that's a landslide.
Yeah.
But yes, compared to what was expected, what was it, 312 to 240 or something like that?
I can't remember.
That
sounds about right.
It was a pretty wide gap. But I will regurgitate here what I have heard common sense Democrats and Republicans across the board say since the election. And that is that the way things were going was not good. We needed a change. And what the options that were out there was no change in the other option we had besides Trump. Because any and everything that she did with the whole change of going from Biden to Harris so late, so quick, and trying to ramp that up to be the next best thing. Your black vote, your young vote, your Hispanic vote, your white vote. Everybody saw through all that, and they were like, we can't keep going this direction. We've got to have a change.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that everybody was pro-Trump. What they were pro is that we need a change. So we can't carry on the same thing.
I think the general public is, for me, I know I can speak for myself. I know I can speak for a few of my friends. They're tired of being pandered to.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that may have worked, some number of years ago, and then you start picking up on it, and then it's, you're just trying to sell me.
Mm-hmm.
And people are tired of being sold.
Right.
Tell me what you're going to do, and if it lines up with what I feel like needs to be done, then I'm on board. But quit telling me what you think I want to hear.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that pissed off lifelong politicians in 2016 through 20, when Trump was in office the first time, was that for the first time, and I don't know when, a politician or a person who was elected into a political position actually did what they said they were going to do. Mm-hmm. And that blew people's minds. But in doing so, man, he pissed off a lot of people because he wasn't part of the system. He didn't play the games with them. I remember in 2016, or 15 and 16, when he and Hillary were running, I remember like it was yesterday going, if I was looking for, from a Christian Judeo perspective, which is my world, no, he was not the first choice. But I felt like I made the best choice in the two options that I had. And I think we were the same thing this time. Are your extremists still out there on both sides of the world who say that, it's guns and ammo in the hills of the Carolinas, and that's what we need. We need to purge, and we need to, come again. Maybe. And then you've got the liberal and the woke culture side, the cancel culture side that, oh my God, whatever. I mean, the group in the middle of those two is what won this.
Mm-hmm.
The balanced, common sense thinking. Did you still have your hardcore Democrats that voted Democrat? Yeah. Your hardcore Republicans that voted Republican. But you had enough that said enough is enough that went across the aisle and punched the ticket. We're about to find out. 11 days.
Well, you bring up a valid point, and I don't know that you were wanting to go down this road or not, but I think it was just this week, there's a court case going on in California where a man, now biological male, was sentenced to prison. As he's getting into his sentencing and court dates, expresses that he identifies as a female. They send him to an all-female prison. 6 women or so, maybe it was 4, maybe it was 12. I don't know the exact number. You'll pick up on the highlights and change station. But a number of women end up pregnant and claim rape. But the laws in that state or jurisdiction or whatever express that rape can only happen between a man and a woman.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
he's protected all the way around.
Yeah.
And there'll be no.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be something. Lord willing, there'll be something.
Well,
at some point in time, but. I think people are just tired of this idiocracy, and want somebody to make a stand for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have entered into a society that is. It's kind of like I don't know if you guys remember James Gregory, the comedian. He was funny as he could be, but he used to have this bit that he did back in the 90s that was called Pass a Law. What do you think? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that was another one of his bits that he did.
It was. Yeah.
The guy ordering off the menu at KFC.
And he was looking up. Yeah.
He was looking over the menu.
I remember that now.
He's ordering a bucket of chicken.
It's not that complicated. But he was all about, hey, let's pass a law for this and pass a law with that. Can you pass a law? This is one of his parts. Can you pass a law to have a curfew law to have my kid home by 11? And he was talking about, in my day, my dad said be home at 11. If it wasn't, I got my ass tore up, and that's how I knew to be home at 11.
Yeah.
Or I feared what would happen, and I came home when my parents said, come on. But I saw something even just the other day that was funny about, I wish I could remember it all because it would fit right here so well. But basically it was, the parents feared the children, and the parents fear the board, and the board fears the politicians, and everybody fears everybody, but the kids are the only ones that ain't scared of nobody.
Mm.
And they're the ones that run the show.
Yeah.
For the most part. And it's crazy where we have arrived in society today, and the things that we call normal that used to be not normal. And I get it. 30 years ago, things had advanced from 30 years before that were better. But there were also some things that were not. And here we are, down the road, and there's been some things that are better, but there are a lot of things that are not. So it's just kind of crazy where our society is. And if you believe in, again, back to the whole, biblical concept of Christianity, and this thing's not lasting forever. This is not going to sit here forever. There is going to come an end to it, whether you believe in the return of Christ or, of an explosion in the end. It can't last. Wars going to happen, countries against it. There's going to be it's going to end. I can't imagine when that is. And I fear for my children, grandchildren, and lineages on down the line to however long it takes to get to that point. But we are in a very bad situation, and we can only hope that, the new administration coming in can help sustain us just a little longer, because the inevitability is he can't be in there forever. Mm-hmm. No one can, so it's only short-lived. It's a matter of what happens after that. Mm-hmm. So we the people.
I was having a conversation with someone about this yesterday. I think one of the things that could solve a lot of our problems is term limits in Congress and the Senate.
I would dare say that wouldn't solve a little bit of our problems.
Yeah.
It could potentially solve massive problems with the lifelong politicians. I mean, and Biden is a prime example. Many of them are not Republican and Democrat, but oh my God, I mean, 50 years he's been doing this, and what's he done? I mean, what's the San Francisco senator?
Yes,
that's got all the homeless people living on their streets, and sanctuary city and all that kind of stuff, and how these people keep getting elected, and I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, think about if we had new eyes on serious problems like healthcare, and the origin of the conversation I was having was about health insurance and how the system is so broken. And if we had new eyes and new brains working to solve some of these problems for the common folk, instead of the same old getting reelected for the eighth term in the Senate, could that help solve some of our systematic issues? Perhaps, maybe.
I would say yes, and you got the likes of Robert Kennedy, and there's Gabby. There's a laundry list of folks that have come on board that, either were Democrats or were in the middle or were just silent, and now you've got. By the massive groves, these people are coming out. Now you have Republicans and Democrats in some form that are trying to figure out a way together. I mean, Robert is going to be put in charge of our health in the country, and he seems to be a pretty healthy, kind of a nut freak, whatever you want to call him, and probably knows what he's talking about. So that should be interesting. Elon Musk is going to be part of our finances and the way our economy
government
is.
Efficiency.
I mean, that's the way he ran it in the 4 years he was there before.
Yeah, right.
And I think he realizes that there's no opportunity for another election. This is it. He doesn't have to fear a reelection. I'm hoping that he really throws caution to the wind.
Goes all out.
And performs And I think it will, to the best of what America can be and do.
And try to set us up for continued success.
That's correct.
I think that's why he's talking about this Greenland thing, right? He's talking about Canada, which could those things happen? I don't know, but at least he's looking at, Greenland, at least he's saying, is part of our national security, which I can see that. There's also, the mineral wealth of that giant island, the mineral wealth of Canada. And I think he's thinking long term, way past his lifetime.
Well, I agree with that, and I think he's also looking at, back when he got elected before, he was talking about, back in the day when Bill Clinton, I think it was Bill Clinton, that, forgave Mexico of like trillions of dollars debt if they owed us, rather than going over there, basically just repossession, take, we'll just take the land. The problem is that, that takes us kind of to old school, and that would have created all kind of, but he has a valid point in the general sense of it. If you're not going to contribute, then we're not going to protect you. All these countries that we protect,
like the UN,
all that millions and billions of dollars going to them. And look, I don't know very many. I know, Canada's definitely is at the zipper. And there's a lot of, Canadians that come over here and act and make millions and sing and do whatever. And they're not necessarily a communist country by any stretch. But, and I don't know what the answer to that is. That's kind of all new on the board. I don't know if that would benefit us or benefit them or hurt us both. But
who knows?
I think from a business...
It's just a hot topic.
I think from a business perspective, and you got to remember, he's thinking business. I think from a business perspective, if you want to grow your business, and expand, sometimes you have to buy, sometimes even the competition, to grow that. AT&T for decades tried to have their own cable. It was their fiber, whatever they called it. It sucked for decades, and so finally they just decided to, buy DirecTV.
Yeah, right.
Now that went a couple different ways and took several years to happen, but in the end, that's what they did, and that's how they got their. Because they couldn't come up with anything good, so they just bought the competition. And that's what corporate America does. If I can't beat you, I'll buy you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I don't want to pretend that I know the mind of Donald Trump, and I can anticipate just based on previous experience,
track record.
Track record. But I'm not by any means a political expert. Can't predict the future. That kind of things, but I do agree. I think I think inflation's gonna slow. I think a lot of good things are gonna happen, but again, just my opinion.
Well, it's going to have to be some of the right things that's going to cause America to flourish again. We were on the right track financially. If he would have got back in office and we would have continued another 4 years of that, I think that we would have been kind. But we would have been good. But the whole culture of transgender and how that was unfolding right about that same time, COVID, it just wasn't in the cards at that time for whatever reason, maybe God's plan. But here we are 4 years later, he's back in. So, we'll see. He's got an opportunity. I'll say that. And whatever he does with that opportunity and the rest of the Republicans, because he can't do it alone. I mean, there are some executive choices and decisions and laws that he can pass, but, many of the things that need to be changed in this country need full backing of, Congress to put it into permanent writing.
Yeah.
To make this thing last.
I think there's I've told people before in my business, I'll go through periods of time with customers, right? And those customers are generally there for a season. And then at some point in time, the new bright, shiny contractor comes along and they see appeal in that. Or they think that contractor is going to do something different or whatever. And they hire that contractor. And then, maybe after a period of time, they come back.
Right.
They say, well, we were kind of upset with you about this and about that, but, once we experienced somebody else, then we grew an appreciation for the other things that you did. And
Right.
I think that what we're coming out of, I would like to think was that moment in time. That was it. Okay. Trump comes in and makes a big splash, and, everybody thinks that things are going to be better if we have, somebody in there that maybe is a little more left wing and a little more passive and a little more liberal, and we can move that ideology that way, and then they get it that way, and you go, well, that didn't really work out the way we thought it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to get on a completely different subject, but I think there's a lot of things that go that way. Like you don't really realize what the repercussions are going to be until you live in it.
Right.
Like them, the NIL deal. And we can circle back to this another time, but I think it was the same way. Like they throw it out there and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And now we're scrambling a couple of years later going, man, the mess we have created. How are we going to fix this?
Created a monster. Yeah.
It looks good on the surface.
Right.
And then after, it's unfolded and everything, it's the same.
Yeah, it sounds good to let people be who they want to be and identify however they want to identify, and it's their life. And y'all don't take us the wrong way, or certainly, I want to speak for these guys. Don't take me the wrong way. We're in the biker community. Mm-hmm. If there has ever been a more open-minded community of people that band together, let me know.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
That's the biker lifestyle, right? It's everybody has a certain degree of free spirit to them to get on a motorcycle to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so there's, we go places and hang out with people that are from
all walks.
every every ideology, every you name it, and we all get along.
But we're in it. That's what we see from the outside looking in. People who are not part of the biker community, they see us as thugs and hooligans, and we all carry guns in our saddlebags, and
maybe,
which I do. But
well, I think
so. I'm not saying that I'm a hater of anybody or anything or whatever, but man, when you start opening that door.
The whole inch and then takes a mile or whatever comes into play. And I think if you go back to the beginning of 21, after Biden was inaugurated, if the economy would have stayed in the direction it was going, and they would have been able to pander or cater to the liberal Hollywood and musicians and all these people that were pushing agendas, if the economy would have stayed good, they would have been successful.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem with that, is the agenda that they're pushing is a creative agenda that causes a burden on the economy. Providing free stuff, giving away this, government handouts, more government groups, more government employees, more government grows, people shrink. That doesn't cause so their whole thinking that the economy's gotten pretty good during Trump years, everything. Now let's get the liberal push agenda that we want, and then we'll have a perfect setup. Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't work. Like you said.
Then a lot of those people that were pushing for that were going are now going. Inflation went through the roof. Yeah, I'm getting more on my check, but it's not going as far as it was.
That's right.
And now I'm worse off than I was before.
And your everyday person sees that.
Mm-hmm.
Your Taylor Swifts and your Beyoncés and your Richard Gere's and your Meathead. Rob, what's his last name?
Lowe?
No, Meathead from All in the Family.
Oh, that guy.
Rob. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Reiner. These guys are all out there spouting all this stuff off, but they got bank accounts full of money. Yeah, they may get hit a little hard, but they're still going to have their Rolls Royce, and they're still going to have their Beverly Hills. Well, that's assuming it didn't burn down, but they're going to have all their stuff,
private jets,
and they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about the lady over here that lives in the trailer park a mile from me that barely gets by, who has their belief but is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could try to convince these people, and it's like Richard Gervais says at the one of the Golden Globes a couple 3 years ago. Don't you people? You can't lecture America on politics and what's right and wrong. You people live in a world that's fake.
Mm-hmm.
He was really hard on them, and I don't know if you guys have seen bits and clips from that, but you need to go back and look at it. The Golden Globes with Richard Gervais. I mean, he wore them out. He said you sat in your high rights and you with your associated them with all the, the bad people that's been arrested and for whatever things going on, and basically said that. So here's what I say, summing up kind of the politic part of this, is that quit listening to the musicians, quit listening to the actors. That's it. Let them act. I've said for years, if Bruce Springsteen would just shut his mouth and just sing, I could listen to him. All right. If the actors would do that, and I both sides of the aisle, you rarely see a conservative Republican actor marching and doing all the stupid stuff that you see the liberals doing.
And if they did, they wouldn't get the airtime.
And they wouldn't. Just go do what you're supposed to do and let America decide for themselves without you pushing an agenda. That to me, that's the bottom line of that. But because we had them pushing an agenda, here we are 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It won't take long. It's going to take a little while to unravel some of this, but there'll be other countries. Politicians are already crossing the aisle. There's I can't remember his name right now, but I read just a couple hours ago about one of the Democrat senators that are pretty well known that's going to Mar-a-Lago this weekend to have him sit down with him. He's a Democrat, but they realize that if they're going to stay in office, they're going to have to come across this aisle. We're going to have to do this together, or they're not going to have a career long anyway. Because there's midterm elections. All right, all these congressmen and senators and House of Representatives, all these that are Democrats that are going to be up for election come midterm. If things are going as expected, they're going to have some changes, or they'll be out the door.
Back to my point about term limits.
Yeah,
that's something he said he's going to.
I don't know how I feel about term limits. It sounds good, but I also do believe that it takes a period of time for somebody to get into one of those offices and learn how to play ball.
I get that.
So if you cut them off at 4 years or 6 years, or I don't know how many years it would be, but you're going to bring somebody else in that doesn't know how to play ball yet, and you're going to be in these stalemates where nothing's going to happen because somebody hasn't figured out how to grease the squeaky wheel.
Right. Well, it'd be like an attorney or a client, losing an attorney after being into the trial for a long period of time, and they have to take a recess while the other new attorney learns everything.
Yeah.
And I get all that, but could that also be the negative side of that? Could it be that having somebody in there with fresh eyes that don't see it in a political or politician's way,
I would
be a help?
Yeah.
Common guy. What would you do if you and I had conversations
at the presidential level? I think there is a level of that where a fresh set of eyes can come in and say, nope, this is the way I want it, and this is the way it's going to happen.
Yep.
And I'm not giving in to you guys. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
Because they kind of got the power to do that.
Sure, to some degree.
But I think at lower levels, it's
well, the fact that we have to say or make statements like learn the game or how to play ball in Washington D.C. that just kind of that's the problem.
Well, yeah, but I do, but there is a point to that. Is that you don't. I mean, look at AOC when she first walked in. I mean, everybody on our side of the aisle, so to speak, everybody that hated. I mean, what was this? This is she was a waitress a few years earlier, and now she's. But today, like, she ain't the same person. She's learned. She's gravitated.
Yeah.
She's merged in the lanes. Now she's going, so she's only making noise when it's right, when she feels like, not just every time she opens her mouth.
Sure.
And she's,
saying stupid stuff.
Stupid stuff. That's right.
So, and if it takes you 2 years to get your feet wet and learn the game, you've got 2 more years to apply it, then get reelected, or I
I
get
just
your
think you
point.
need to give that
I get your
some
point.
consideration that there's going to be a period of time. I mean, Alabama put in what's Auburn's coach that's now one of our
Tommy Tuberville.
Tommy
Tuberville.
Tuberville, yeah.
A football coach into politics, and everybody thought that was going to be a disaster or at least everybody in my circle wasn't really real keen on that idea. But I think it took him a little while to get in and figure out, okay, who do I need to be eating lunch with? Who can make things happen, and who's going to play on my team, and whose team do I need to play on? And I feel like now he's got a voice.
Yeah.
Somewhat effective.
Yeah.
Your point's fair.
So I think you got to give that some consideration. And when you say, what's the term going to be? Because I think the first term or two, they're just pissing in the wind.
Well, in Congress and senators and the House, they only get Congress. They only get 4 year, but somehow it's cycled every 2 for some, and the whole but I feel like that. I feel like there is a medium there somewhere that can be met. Whether it's a grading system, or whether it's just flat rate terms. I mean, I would think that as in a president, there was a reason why they instilled term limits for a president. It's not your house. It's not your permanent address. We're not hanging pictures on the wall, so to speak. So 2 terms, 8 years seems to be pretty good, but not more than 10. Which means he can't be reelected for 3 consecutive terms. Now, you want to get into this conspiracy theorist, Donald Trump could run again for 2 years and then resign, and then whoever's vice president would take over. But my point is that squirrel. There is there has to be an answer to the madness somehow, because somebody like Schumer and even Republican from Kentucky, Howell Heflin. If you remember Howell Heflin from Alabama,
yeah.
my God, he talked like down south here, boys and girls. I mean, but just, those people should not be there for 50 years. They just shouldn't. But especially if we're still having problems. Now, if things are rolling smoothly, America's prospering, military is good, and life is good, and everybody's happy, you know what? Vote them all back in over and over and over and over and over and over again. Who cares? But it's never that way. So there has to be some changes somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to figure that out. What's going to be recommended if Trump follows through with it, which that's been one of his, it wasn't one of his campaigning points, but it was one of his post-election points, was that he was going to push for some term limits. I do think you have to give more than 4 years. I don't think that's enough. 12 years? I don't know. There's got to be something there that you can say that, there has to be at least one term break in there somewhere to allow for somebody else to come in and you to go out and see things from the outside in or something.
Here's an idea. What if you measure their net worth? And once their net worth multiplies by a certain number, it's time for them to leave office.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because at some point they're being bought.
Yeah. At making $175,000 a year, you don't become a multimillionaire.
And that is my point exactly. And we should be, these guys coming up, they're running their own business, or they're business people. They're in the private sector. Hey, I might be able to contribute. They run for office. They get elected. They spend a little bit of time there, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a political science student by any means, but I thought the original, somewhere I've read this or heard this, that the original idea was to go serve your time and go back to civilian life.
Pretty much so.
So I don't know where we got away from that.
Let me tell you where they got. This is where they got away from it. We're sitting here at this podcast, and we're just doing it for fun because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
But if tomorrow the bottom fell out and it took off and we started making a lot of money, guess what? I'd be a permanent sitting at this table making podcasts about every day.
Yeah.
You know, and finding the fun in something that because I'm making money at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. They realized that it came with fame and fortune and money.
Notoriety. Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. But
Laptops and snorting cocaine and getting money from Ukraine.
yeah. And if and back to your point, if they were actually doing their jobs 310, 320 days a year like the rest of us, and putting in the time, they would pick up on it a whole lot quicker, be able to get stuff done a whole lot easier. Might be less infighting across the aisle. Who knows? I don't know. It's just,
It's odd how that so goes America in your I'm trying to think of how to word this or what the right words are to say, but basically you've got your large cities like San Francisco and LA and Chicago and New York and others,
Seattle.
that run their states, and they continue to elect the same people over and over and over again, even though they're having massive issues, massive homeless issues, massive illegal, alien issues, all kinds of stuff. California is so bad right now with finances and where all they're at. It is unbelievable how them people continue to vote the Democrats in charge out there. It blows my mind. If Mama K run Alabama like that, she would be out the next election. I just don't, and I'm not saying that she's smarter.
I think she needs to be out. Next.
Well, that's.
I mean, we got our own problems around here, but
We do.
One thing that gets to me is the amount of coverage that things that don't matter get.
That's called distraction.
Yeah, all the distractions, but the things that do matter are just ignored. Like when you hear people talk about the number of teachers in public classrooms that are not certified teachers.
Yeah.
How is that not in the news?
Yeah.
And it's not a small thing.
No, it's a big thing.
It's a big thing. And most people they don't know it. Maybe they don't have kids in the schools or they don't have kids in that school, so it's not important to them.
It doesn't affect the right people.
But when you look at a trend,
there you go.
For when you look at a trend for a state or demographic or on a larger scale, what's that going to do? Mm-hmm. What's that going to do to an economy when you got kids coming through a school that, by and large, at the end of their high school days, are probably unemployable?
Sure.
And nobody's,
what is the fastest way?
So I would say we need a committee together that needs to be resolved now.
Put Elon on it
yesterday.
I agree with that, and I think there's two points that I'll make here. And there's one is that I think the Department of Education needs to be eliminated. Mm-hmm. If you've ever been to Washington, if you've ever walked around up there, you'll see pictures, and you can go online and find this too. But you'll go online and you can find currently where the Department of Education sits, the buildings. Back before 78, 79, somewhere along in there, that was just all property up there. So fast forward a few, and now it's just a money-hungry pig slop up there that's just absorbent, and nothing has gotten better than it was supposed to. Even George Bush came up with the whole "No Child Left Behind" thing. Right. That was one of the worst things that could have ever happened. Yeah. But here's one of the things I would say about what you was talking about, DJ. If we produce a massive amount of illiterate children to become adults, which we do.
Okay.
They become more and more
impressionable,
dependent.
Yep.
Upon somebody
to
lead them.
Yep.
Those of you see me stick my fingers up my nose. Lead them around because they're too incompetent to do it themselves. The government becomes their hero. They vote them in because they're going to give them free money, free stuff, free this, that, and the other. Right. And then you've turned into a socialistic society. That, my friends, is what the Democrats have been on their agenda and been pushing for the last few years.
But I think it's another one of those unintended consequences.
I don't. Yeah, I agree. Well, and to a degree.
Yeah,
I
to
don't
some
know
degree, could we have controlled it? Maybe, but I don't think we realize. I don't think we realize the impact that the current situation is going to have 10 years, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, if a change isn't made.
Yeah. No, you're right.
The amount of burden that
Long term.
are going to put on society is immeasurable at this point.
Yeah, you're right. It's a very good point. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, talking about the distractions and that shiny thing over there, and I'm waiting to hear what we missed when I've been wondering this. The drone thing, that was huge, right? Mm-hmm. And then it just up in New England, New Jersey, New York, and then it all of a sudden disappeared. What did we miss while the news, the mainstream media, was covering all the drone stuff that turned out to be nothing? That's the kind of stuff they throw out there to put us in a tizzy, to scare us.
If your three bigs are bathing in a particular subject, you better know something's going on somewhere.
Yeah.
That they're not covering, and it's on purpose. I promise you that. ABC, NBC, CBS is somewhere milking something or bathing in something, a topic. You better know that's not what the issue is. It's somewhere behind the scenes or on the other side of the world that's going on. That's what the big issue is.
My intention wasn't to steer us into conspiracy theory world, but anyway, that's just something I've been thinking about lately, because drones was the biggest thing for 2 weeks, and then we haven't heard anything about it for at least 2-3. But
Randy can probably speak more intelligently about this than I can, but you go back a couple of decades ago when the feds got into education and said, okay, now we're going to federally back all these student loans and allow people to go to school. People need opportunity. It needs to be available to everyone, and we're going to federally back these loans, and they're going to be low interest, and we're going to defer payments. And then you get all these people. Now these people can go to college that didn't have the opportunity to go to college. And it all sounds wonderful. Yeah. Until you fast forward a couple of decades, and now there's this huge age gap in the skilled trades, and you got a flooded market of people with college educations that can't find jobs that are substantial enough to cover their debts. And now we're pushing for we're gonna just wash all these debts, which again sounds great and wonderful to the person that's got the debts, but then the guy like me that paid their way through school are going, you gonna reimburse me, or I'm paying my daughter's way through school.
Yeah,
like. When I've got to sit down with myself and have a conversation that goes, should I take out student loans for her to go to school so that they can just get wiped clean, or do I just write the check? Because I know they're not going to give me a check back.
That's right.
You just don't understand what those consequences are going to be. And as a guy that runs a contracting firm and that has to hire, a skilled tradesman, I'm telling you, finding people is the hardest part of my job. I think Randy would agree. Yep. I could grow my business, a number of times over if I could find the employees to do the work.
Sure.
And that's the struggle. But I feel like it was created 20 years ago.
Oh yeah,
of course.
And now there's this, this push to bring the trades back, and there's funding coming down for, skilled trades back in the classrooms at the high school level and all that. And, all that's great and wonderful. I still don't think it's getting what it deserves. I think certainly when I was in school, it was kind of, the teachers decided, you're probably going to struggle later in life, so you need to go to welding school. And that's not the case.
Right.
I need plumbers, and you still need to be able to read a tape measure, do basic math, and It's not for the dummy. If you saw the technology in some of this heating and air conditioning, water heating equipment, and boilers, chillers, and all that kind of stuff, and I can go on and on and on. You got to have some wit about you. Yeah. So anyway, that was my soapbox. I'm off now. Next.
No, but I mean, it's the it really is the whole it's kind of like the housing market that Bill Clinton did when he was in office. What the economy was doing good, and if everybody in America should own a home. So, you know what, we're going to create, utilize Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and we're going to make sure everybody gets home. And then you fast forward 20 years from then, and then we have a housing crunch and the economy collapse, and it catches up with you. It's the same thing if you live off your credit cards. Eventually, that's going to catch up with you, and you're going to have to owe them at some point, or you're going to owe more interest than you can afford, or whatever the scenario may be. So yes, you're right. It's the sins of our fathers, so to speak, who thought they were doing something right. And I'm not saying that some of it probably wasn't legit. Because sometimes I've made business decisions thinking that this is a good idea. A few days later, or a few weeks later, or a few months later, I'm like, that bit me in the ass.
Yeah, I got an education, plenty of education in that myself. Yeah. So
I know it happens, but it can't just continue to happen. No, I'd be out of business.
Mm-hmm.
But the government can just keep on making mistakes and keep on screwing up, and they just get to keep staying in business.
Yeah, and they never own to it and say,
my bad.
That was a terrible idea.
Yeah, my bad. We did wrong there. Let us make this right.
No, here are the things that we did good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some shortcomings, but the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. We're going to focus on this 5% good and not worry about the 95% bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy world. I remember as a kid growing up, my dad's dad, I called him Pawpaw, and he owned many acres. He was a farmer. And I remember, he had folks that come and picked for him, and I remember as a kid we'd get out there with them and pick, and they were the nicest folks. And he took his bushels and his truckloads of watermelons and whatever he had together, and it just seemed like things were working as they were supposed to. Was it perfect? No. He took his product down to the farmer's market down in Birmingham. He sold everything. He brought the money back to his home. He put it up, and that's how he fed his family, and that's how they paid the bills. And this was a cycle that went on all of his life and my dad's life, and as far as when they were at home, and we've moved from that to our world today where we pay farmers to not farm. And we, are a technologically advanced society to the point to where we're no good for anybody because, to your point, we can't fix a plumbing pipe. We can't, even my boys and your boys are probably no different. Well, I'll tell you, I'll give you a prime example. I love my boys to death. Tanner's truck starts making a squeaking noise. He pulls in the driveway. I knew exactly what it was. I said, your CV joint or your ball joint is dry and, it's got to be replaced. But he had no idea. What's going on here? It sounds horrible. I need a new truck or, something along those lines,
I need a new Tundra.
Yeah, it's broken. I was like, well, you got to have the ball joints fixed. So send it down, and $1,800 later, and he's got a new front end, so to speak. But And I feel horrible, but we spent all of our life doing football and baseball and basketball and sports and traveling, doing all that. And there was no time to get out in the driveway and fix cars and do mechanic work. And
teach them how to tinker.
And maybe that's an excuse. I don't know, but that's just the way it was. But I felt bad because I can do it. They've asked me many times, how do you know all this stuff, Dad? How do you know all this stuff? Because if I wanted something done, son, I couldn't afford to pay anybody. So I had to do it myself. If I wanted transmission replaced in my truck, guess what? I got out, put it on blocks, dropped that transmission, went to the junkyard, and bought another one.
How did Tanner pay for it?
Well, Tanner didn't pay for it. I say $1,800 later. I didn't say who paid for it.
I got you.
Here's what I think needs to happen.
The purge.
And I'll elaborate on this some. I think news outlets need to receive their funding. Are you recording this? Need to receive their funding based on subscriptions from the people that appreciate the product that they put out.
Wow.
and that they should not be able to receive money from advertising. Because I believe that a Fox News, we'll pick on them, okay? Fox News knows who is watching their news station.
Sure.
Of course.
And advertisers that want to market to that demographic pay them tremendous amounts of money
To say we don't like the liberals
to say we don't like the
or
liberals
whatever.
because their Fox News is pandering to the people that align with that, right?
Right.
So the news outlets are going to give a certain demographic what they think that demographic wants to hear.
Correct.
Okay. I had I used to teach at a trade school. It was a lot of underprivileged people coming through there. And I can remember clear as day. I mean, it was when Trump's first election during the Republican primary. It was the news then, right? There was this young black kid. I could tell you his name, but that's not really relevant. But young kid, and came to me. But before class, we were just having conversation and talking about the primary election that was that day. And he was like, "Man, I don't know anything. Like I don't know where you get this information from. I don't know who to choose." And when I got to thinking about, man, how do I answer this kid? And I simply said, dude, my best advice is take in as much information as you can get from as many different outlets as you can get, and then draw your own conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just turn on the radio to this talk show, then you're going to be led down that road. They're going to lead you. They're going to sell you. They're going to they're going to disciple you into
I was
their
about to say church you into it, but that's
right.
exactly
And if you change the station to this other news outlet, then you're going to get completely different, and you're going to be discipled to their way of thinking.
right.
I have a tendency to bounce around. Like I want to see what the headline is here, and the headline is here, and the headline is here.
Yeah, I'm
and
the
kind of
same
the
way.
old adage, it's like the truth is probably somewhere in the midst of all of that. But I think that's, and look, there's been plenty of coverage about this. What, did Twitter control the election, and what role does Meta have in it, and Facebook have in it, and all this kind of stuff. But I really think there needs to be some governance there that says, you know what, if you're going to give news to the United States populace,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't need influence from advertisers or lobbyists or that are pandering to this audience.
Back to term
but-
limits.
But what I was going to say,
Back to term limits.
that falls in for even your politicians. Because,
Absolutely.
I mean, that they're going to do certain things to get certain votes, and look, it happens in churches, it happens in businesses, it happens everywhere. When you've got people and you give them a say, they get an opportunity to voice their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It agrees with some and it don't agree with others. But I do concur that where we have arrived in American society, American political society, is that social media and news outlets push and drive agendas for their cause, no matter what.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's and look,
and it would be evident if I had, one of my biker friends that maybe had a different ideology that I've got, and we both opened up our phones and let's compare my algorithm to your algorithm, right?
Sure.
I'm going to get a whole lot of what I believe,
Right.
right? A lot of things I want to see or that I agree with, because if they start putting stuff that I don't agree with on there, well, then I'm going to delete the app.
Yep.
And he might get, he's going to get all the opposite or whatever it may
Right.
be.
Randy's going to get a whole lot of Bud Light ads.
I remember in 1991 when the Kuwait invasion happened and the war started over there. I remember one of the biggest things that was that made news. Now, 91 has not been that long ago, but it's been long enough that it was long before all the social media and smartphones and all that kind of stuff. But news outlets and cable outlets and things of that nature were going on. CNN was happening, ESPN was happening, and things of that nature. So you had cable news and regular news. But I remember how the news anchors or news journalists were embedded in places in the war. And as the war began to happen and things started, they were coming out and reporting, this, young girl and her mom was killed and bombed, and this family was killed and bombed. And then it started making war look ugly. And, and all the common sense people was going, that's because war is ugly. All the women and children and men and young and old alike that were on the ships that when Pearl Harbor was bombed, they died. I mean, that's the ugliness of war. My point in saying all that is that, you fast forward to where we are at today and, you can't sneeze without somebody handing you a tissue. Everybody's walking on eggshells except for, your liberal council woke culture who are not listening to anybody but just screaming in everybody else's ears. We've got to get back to a place, and you said it earlier, and we've all said it in some fashion over the last few years, but we've got to get back to where we listen to each other. Now, I don't agree with everything you do, and you don't agree with everything I do, and I dang sure don't agree with everything a liberal, but I promise you I've got some liberal friends, and we can play golf together. We can fish together. I don't care. We've got to get back to a place to where we communicate. Why? Why can't I just work and do for my family and you, whomever you are out there, go work and do for your family? Why do you feel the need to push your agenda onto my lap? That's kind of where we're at. And that's what's gotten us to where we're at, because that side of the house is not happy just being whom they are. They need to be who they are, and they need you to like who they are. That's the satisfaction, and that makes them feel somewhat. And I'm not going to give them that. So yeah, that's 1 hour and 17 minutes of some politics there.
I don't think we mentioned motorcycles at all. But
no, it did.
That's okay.
Well, the inauguration is coming up. I really pray. If you don't pray and you just do some sort of a motion, or if you, I don't know, whatever you do, good vibes,
meditate,
whatever, I don't care. But do it. That America will find its way back to some sort of sense of its place in the world. Again, as a Judeo-Christian, I believe that the end is near and it's inevitable. But until then, it would be nice that my children and my grandchildren got to grow up in a place they didn't have to be afraid economically, politically, or legally, that they could just work, raise a family, and be happy.
Yeah, and that's and so I kind of it took me a second to choose my words carefully here. So we're all, where we go from here, it affects all of us, unless you're one of those planning on getting out of Dodge.
Right.
So it's in our best interest to learn to communicate. To be honest, the things that you just said, because wherever we go from here, it affects all of us.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked about it earlier. I do feel like there's a large amount of our population that is too far removed from the original vision of opportunity that the United States held.
Definitely.
I hate to stay on my jiu-jitsu talk, but we had a seminar a couple weeks ago. There was one of our professors, which professor is higher ranking. She's a girl from Brazil. She was brought into a school in Brazil through what they coined a social program, meaning in Brazil maybe she didn't have a great family life, or whatever the case may have been that got her into this outreach program. They bring her in and they teach her jujitsu. Okay. I don't know what all they provided for her. I don't know if it was room and board and school or whatever, but they educated her and taught her jujitsu, and she stayed in that program, and she's a excellent practitioner. But then they brought her to the United States, and she's a professor here, works with the kids, does a great job. And they're telling this story about where she came from and how she got to Pelham, Alabama. And I mean, she's emotional. She's excited to be here. Like, you could tell it was just what it meant to her to go from where she was at to now. Like, she probably doesn't have what we have sitting here at this table, but is so grateful for what she does have because it's so far from what she was destined to in that situation. Right. And I think that's a lot of the problem that we've got now is people don't like they've got so much that they just take for granted. They have no appreciation for how it got there, who provided it for them, or the people that died to get it there. And, they just want more.
Sure.
Like, I feel like they need to back up and go spend a few minutes somewhere else that's really desolate and destitute and experience that and gain some appreciation for what they got. And maybe they get off everybody else's ass.
It's taking it for granted. Mm-hmm. We used to say it in the church world that, that we were gospel hardened because it was a ritual for us to go to church on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Friday night youth program, or whatever it was. And it got to where it didn't mean anything anymore. Mm-hmm. Then you'd get somebody who had never been in church, never been saved, coming off the street, get saved, the family come in and they were excited. And so they just couldn't quite understand why everybody else wasn't excited. And that's it. It became a rut, became a ritual. Yeah. And I will say that for probably, decades, I mean, America's not that old, but, I would say, for decades, you're talking, America stayed pretty status quo. I mean, we made more progress from, and I used to know this specific dates, but from like 1950 to 1980 than we had in the previous 150 years. And then probably in the last 30 years, we've made more progress than we have in the previous 240 or whatever. We're 24 and 40. We're 249 years old, so we'll be 250 years old next year. Mm-hmm. So I mean, progress is there, but what comes with that? Well, there's a price to pay for that. Electricity is fantastic. Motorcycles with engines in them, they've been around for 120, 130 years, and boats with motors and all the technology and the phones and all this equipment we've got around. It's all great, but it all comes with a price. Mm. And what have we given up in our world, in our society, to be who we are today? All that. In the meantime, be nice to somebody. Be kind. Do what's right. Be nice. Be kind.
Yeah. Just find somebody. Yeah. Smile at them. Ask them how they mama doing.
That's right. And
how's your mama now?
And I will tell you this, and we'll end on this, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, if you really want to find happiness, I mean, the kind of happiness that will really just change your world, buy a motorcycle. And let that wind blow through your hair when you're riding down. I promise you, it's therapy. Yeah. Probably next time we're going to do a little talking about Mama Tried Rally. We've got that coming up. Some of us are going to be going up there. Some of us are going to be going to Daytona for Bike Week, which is the first rally of the riding season. Mm-hmm. Hey, when Christmas and New Year's is over, I start looking for warmer weather. You guys got any last things?
Nah, somebody give us some comments or something.
Yeah.
send us an email.
Absolutely. Hey, post down below or tag somebody. Or
How about give us a show idea? Some content
yeah,
idea.
absolutely. We don't do OnlyFans. Well, maybe, but I won't. But I don't know. I can't speak for them. We don't do Only Toes. Well, you might do Only Toes. You do
Good
Only
now.
Toes. You got one that's a little on the. Maybe it's like that
I got
now.
one.
I don't know.
Toefetish.com.
Oh my God! Look, we just
Put
doing
that
this for
mangled
fun. Have fun
sucker
with
up
us. Have fun with us. All right, guys. God bless. Enjoy it, fellas. Another good one. Take care until next time. God bless.